Hello and welcome, listeners. I am your presenter, Miss Brihannia White. I am thrilled to be welcomed into your home, workplace, or whatever space you opted to tune in. Today, I invite you to listen in and enjoy a new episode of Modern Technology for Inclusive Education, a Caribbean consideration. This podcast would highlight how teachers can use emerging technologies to foster inclusive education practices and achieve learning goals. So, before we move on, I feel the need to give the listenership some insights into where we are in the Caribbean region concerning inclusive education. According to UNESCO 2020 Global Education Monitoring Report, Latin America and the Caribbean on inclusion and education, we note 1. While some countries are transitioning towards inclusion, misconceptions and segregation are still common. 2. School systems mirror their highly unequal societies. 3. Identity, background, and ability dictate education opportunities. 4. Data on disabilities need to be improved. 5. Teachers need more support to encourage inclusion. 6. Learners with disabilities bear a disproportionate share of consequences from the COVID-19 pandemic. With that said, I still have hope for a more positive outlook in the future. I cannot help but consider how the adoption of new emerging technologies can create equality, equity, fairness, and social justice for the less fortunate, disadvantaged, and marginalized individuals and groups in our education systems across Caribbean communities. In this podcast series, we want to zero in on disruptive technology, and in today's episode, we will spotlight humanoid robots. I know some listeners may be asking, what are disruptive technologies? TechTarget defines disruptive technology as displacing an established technology and shaking up the industry, or a groundbreaking product, concept, service, and process that creates an entirely new industry. Believe it or not, you have already interacted with some disruptive technologies. Here are some past disruptive technologies. Do you remember the personal computer? Well, personal computer displaced the typewriter and forever changed word processing. Emails transform the way we communicate, displacing letter writing and disrupting the postal industry. Social networking disrupted telephone, email, instant messaging, and event planning. Can you think of any other past disruptive technology? So, what are today's disruptive technologies that will forever change how we currently conduct our everyday lives? Present day disruptive technology includes artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain, Internet of Things, and one of my learners' favorite, robotics, which is in today's spotlight. Come along with me as I consider ways we can use robotic technologies for inclusive education. Educational institutions may already use robot-based learning systems in the region to achieve learning goals, especially in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the STEM programs. Teachers use simple robots to teach robotics, electronics, or computer science. However, I propose that the Caribbean region consider how we can use humanoid robots endowed with cognitive abilities such as sensing, perception, reasoning, decision making, follow up relearning, and generating new knowledge based on the previous experience for inclusive education. This is nothing strange, as in other parts of the world, Humanoids already act as teaching assistants or even teachers in the classroom to teach mathematics, language, and science. Let's look at what happens in a typical classroom and how we can use humanoid robots to address issues that may be disadvantages to special needs students in an inclusive environment. According to research, humanoid robots easily motivate students to learn by praising and cheering them along. They enhance the relationship between the children and learning goals. So too, humanoid robots can provide immediate feedback and offer a unique experience for the students. Humanoid robots hold the potential for triggering the intrinsic motivations of children who face learning difficulties. Children with learning difficulties need a substantial amount of repetition and external help in learning how to transfer the acquired knowledge from the classroom to the real world. For many, the teaching process relies heavily on short-term working memory in typical classrooms. The repetition process is reduced to a minimum as the lesson progresses to the novel conceptual understanding the next day. Robotic intervention will allow for rehearsal and repetition of newly learned knowledge. Humanoid robots will not get tired no matter how many mistakes a student makes. Carrying out routine and tiring activities free the teachers to focus on working with children individually and developing their skills and talents. Humanoid robots resemble humans. They have enhanced social skills and are programmed to move through facial expressions, gestures, and intonations and respond with appropriate body language. These emotions may include surprise, fear, anger, and disgust. Therefore, teachers and learners perceive humanoid robots as attractive and valuable tools to meet students' different needs. The research shows that students preferred working with humanoid robots to teachers, peers, and computer programs. Students showed no anxiety when interacting with a humanoid as it creates a friendly atmosphere. They help resolve shyness, frustration, reluctance, and confidence better in special needs and inclusive classrooms. Their engagements with humans is more accessible and helps achieve better social skills apart from improving children's problem solving and abstract thinking skills. The humanoid robot will support children's learning process with various learning needs in inclusive education. It relieves the burden of the child to self-control most of the time, which helps children with limited cognitive resource in inclusive classes. More advanced humanoid robots allow telepresences, which enable teachers to connect to the classroom through remote display mechanisms usually embedded in the robot's torsos. As a relatively new tech tool, humanoid robots are not without shortcomings. From a humanoid robot's perspective, interaction between robots and humans are complex. Generating natural human-like movements and awareness require multiple discipline expertise, including robotics, computer science, electrical and mechanical engineering, human factor engineering, and the social sciences. So too, natural language interaction is challenging that requires cutting-edge speech recognition, language understanding abilities, cognitive modeling, mixed initiative interaction, and multimodal interaction. Another primary consideration is for stakeholders to design educational policies, curricula, and learning materials on the use of humanoid robots in the classrooms and for inclusive education, especially since it challenges the role of the teacher. Finally, there is always the reality that modern technology will become obsolete, especially in light of continued advancements. Outdated technologies can create a stockpile of useless hardware equipment when newer technologies are obtained or when software become incompatible. More so, more than likely, studies on tested humanoid robots may last for just a few years in the face of more advanced robots, and long-term studies will require ongoing significant financial investment. To conclude, the cost of microcontrollers and microprocessors have significantly decreased as vendors seek to develop and market more cost-effective robot controllers over the past decade. Over time, we can expect humanoid robots to become a more cost-effective way of providing individualized or differential instructions in the classroom. Though I may not expect every learning institution to adopt these tools, I hope to encourage those involved in inclusive education research and those who are eager to investigate how this disruptive technology can revolutionize and take education to a new level in the Caribbean. Humanoid robots can potentially change the role of the teacher without diverting the teacher's attention away from the class, but freeing them to focus on struggling learners and providing human interactions in the process. Humanoid robots promote individualized learning by responding to the individual needs of learners, repeating topics not mastered, providing immediate feedback, and helping students work at their pace. These features are added benefits for learners with disabilities and the inclusive classroom. Human robots are designed and programmed to be supportive, good listeners, and keen to help. These qualities increase student engagement, motivation, interest, cooperation, proficiency, academic performance, and build positive relationships. To my Caribbean colleagues, here are two ideas for further consideration based on numerous studies. From a learner's perspective, learners regard the humanoid robot as an authority during the learning process. They have a better understanding of the learning needs and provides the relevant advanced technological support. From a teacher's perspective, humanoid robots act as expert systems to support the teaching process and have a better understanding of the professional needs of teachers and provision of advanced tools for individualized work. After listening to this podcast, I hope you are equally excited as I am. And if not, I hope it did pique your interest to take action. This is your presenter, Brianna White. Do look out for my next thought provoking podcast where I look at other emerging technologies for inclusive education. Be safe out there. Bye.